The kitchen is the heart of the home, and the design of this space can greatly affect the functionality and feel of your living space. If you're renovating an older home, the typical question becomes how or should we create an open concept? And if you're building a new home, it's how do we create the best open concept? Should we ignore the closed kitchen design completely? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk pros and cons of open versus closed kitchen designs. An open kitchen design combines the kitchen, dining, and living areas into one large, multifunctional space. This has become more popular in recent years due to the changes in our lifestyle, social habits, and the way we use our homes. The kitchen has become more than just the heart of the home. It's really the hub of our homes. One of the primary reasons for the popularity of the open concept derives from our desire for social interaction and communication. This concept not only increases the functionality of our kitchen, but our home as a whole. Life is busy. We're spending more time in our homes, maybe even more time in our kitchens, but we still want time and the ability to connect with family and friends. An open kitchen design facilitates this by creating a more inviting and accessible living space where family and friends can mingle freely, interact with each other while cooking, dining, or just hanging out. If you're a parent with younger children, I know at least in our house, it's nice to have that open concept where you can keep an eye on the youngest ones, make sure they're not getting into too much trouble, while still staying focused on preparing a meal or cleaning up after dinner without having to kind of be running back and forth between spaces. An open kitchen design enhances natural light. Now, I'll throw up a link in one of these corners to a video we made a while back talking all about how we can harness natural light within our homes. And this is where the open concept really shines. Literally. An open kitchen design enhances natural light and airflow, creating a more inviting, warm, and comfortable space. Natural light can flow freely across the space, illuminating the kitchen and surrounding areas. And as an added benefit, this gives us a chance to reduce our artificial light usage, reducing our electricity bill, and being a little more environmentally friendly while we're at it. By creating a brighter, more open space, we naturally develop a more spacious feel. Without walls or doors blocking views, an open kitchen design just feels more spacious and allows for more movement from room to room. The beauty of this is that open feeling extends beyond just our kitchens into our family room, our dining rooms, our living rooms, all those adjoining spaces of our house. Now, a quick note here, we don't want to develop an airplane hangar. We don't want to create this large cavernous feel to the space. We still need to create some sort of differentiation, visual differentiation between the spaces, so just keep that in mind when you're planning your design. An open concept is just simply better for small spaces because it maximizes the functionality of every available square foot. Finally, I think we can attribute some of the popularity of open kitchen designs to the rise of foodie culture and the growing interest of cooking and entertaining at home. I think this ties really well back into that first point where a cook can start to feel more involved and amongst their guests, their family, their friends while they're preparing a meal, making for just a more relaxing and enjoyable experience overall. It can also help get the guests involved in prep work without it feeling like a job or a task they've been assigned, almost as if they're being relegated to a back kitchen, put to work, and segregated from the rest of the social gathering. That all sounds really good and kind of makes you wonder why we would ever want to consider something other than an open kitchen design or an open concept for our homes. But it does come with a few downsides as well. It creates a lack of privacy. So if you're somebody that kind of creates a messy kitchen, maybe you're not the cleanest of cooks, or you don't like dirty dishes on display for your guests, you're probably better off looking elsewhere because in the open concept, the kitchen is just always on display. In general, an open concept kitchen or open concept design creates a noisier space. There's no walls to absorb any of that sound, which makes it a little bit difficult to relax or have some quiet time in an adjoining room if everybody's hanging out in the kitchen, preparing a meal, doing homework, cleaning up, whatever the case is. It makes it difficult to just sort of sit in another area and have some peace and quiet. Speaking of cooking and cleaning and a lack of walls, smells are going to travel across your entire living space. Now, that might seem like a great thing if somebody's baking a fresh batch of cookies. Fish, on the other hand, maybe not so much. Last but not least is clutter. I spend a lot of time thinking about this, working through it with clients who are moving into or creating an open concept space for the first time. Kitchens can easily appear messy and cluttered, and without any walls to hide it, like I said, it's on full display. Now, at least good kitchen design can mitigate a lot of these issues that come up. So we sit down and we create a home for everything in the kitchen, which really becomes key to preventing that cluttered look. Now, what about the closed kitchen design? A layout that we have cast off as somehow being lesser. The closed kitchen design is a traditional layout that features walls and doors separating the kitchen from other areas of the home. While it may not be as trendy as open concept designs are nowadays, it does have some upsides to it as well, but also quite a few downsides. One of the primary benefits a closed kitchen design offers is privacy. Now, we've seen a shift over the last few years to a work from home culture, and many people don't have dedicated offices or nooks where they can get that work done. So a corner of the living room or maybe the dining room table becomes their office for the day. With walls and doors separating the kitchen from the rest of our living spaces, it becomes easier to maintain some privacy and control noise from one room to the next. Now, the same works in reverse. If you're in the kitchen, it's much easier to stay focused and on task preparing a meal or cleaning up after a meal without all the distractions from the adjoining rooms. Another advantage to the closed kitchen design is just controlling smells. Now, just like before, this can be a pro or a con depending on what's being cooked, but those walls, those doors will keep smells a little bit more contained in that closed kitchen without them filtering to the rest of your living spaces. I'm going to throw the next one up with a big asterisk because it really depends on the design and the home itself. But in general, a closed kitchen design allows for a greater flexibility of storage options and appliance placements. This all comes down to walls. With walls, it is easier to accommodate more cabinetry and appliance placements. This can make it easier to keep the kitchen organized and clutter-free, making meal preparation more efficient. The asterisk is because, once again, this is incredibly design dependent. Finally, a closed kitchen design offers a more traditional and classic look to a home. If you're somebody who is after some formality and likes to entertain guests in a formal dining room or a formal living room, the closed kitchen design might be a better choice for you. The closed kitchen design doesn't look so bad when you see it from that perspective. But then we get into the downsides. First, we have the limited amount of natural light in these spaces. In most cases, they were smaller rooms and lacked a lot of windows, making them feel cramped or enclosed and dark. Now, that lack of windows was often done to promote more cabinets and more storage in the kitchen, effectively increasing functionality. But it comes at the cost of brightness and airiness. They're less functional beyond the kitchen. So whereas the open concept might be a little less functional in the kitchen, but increases functionality across our entire living area, the closed concept tends to be functional in the kitchen, but less functional across the rest of our living areas. And this is typically because it limits our interactions with guests and family as we have to move between these barriers, these doors and walls from room to room. It also tends to be much harder to keep an eye on children while you're preparing or cleaning up after a meal. The closed kitchen design feels less spacious. This is another pretty straightforward downside that goes hand in hand with the previous two we talked about. With walls and doors separating the kitchen from the rest of our living space, it's simply going to feel smaller and more cramped. Last but not least, and probably one of the largest reasons we're moving away from the closed kitchen design as a concept as a whole, it's been labeled as dated. Most industry professionals, home buyers, heck, even renters, pretty well everybody considers the open concept a more modern and comfortable feeling space, and the closed kitchen design as a dated design feature. While I don't think this is a knock against the kitchen itself per se, it is definitely something that needs to be taken into account if you are looking to buy a new home, if you're renovating, or if you're renovating with a plan to sell. There you have it. There are a lot of pros and cons to both an open kitchen design as well as a closed kitchen design, and the right choice for you will largely depend on your lifestyle, your personal preferences, and the layout of your home. With an open kitchen design, you get improved functionality across your home and a more spacious feel, but it comes at the cost of privacy and noise. On the other hand, a closed kitchen design increases your amount of privacy, tends to keep noise pollution to a minimum, but it can feel cramped and closed off. So I'd love to hear what you think, which way you would go. Are you building a new home? Are you renovating? Which would you choose and why? As always, thanks a ton for watching, and until the next one, bye-bye.